I'm Stephanie, and welcome to Wine Club. This is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is an unfortunate one, as it's a repeat author whose work I've enjoyed previously, and that is Jo Kaplan and It Will Just Be Us. So I had received her title When the Night Bells Ring, I think from my Twisted Retreat book box, and I loved it. I thought it was so creepy, it was atmospheric, it had really interesting supernatural lore, and it was just kind of unlike any other books that I was reading at that time. I was so excited to hear that she had a haunted house story, so I immediately went online, bought myself a copy, and eagerly awaited spooky season to read this. The only thing that scared me was kind of just how bad this was. This was really a letdown. But before I get into it, I do want to say, as I always say, that this review is solely about the book and not about the author as a person. I'm sure she is lovely. And warning, there are going to be spoilers in this review. If you want a spoiler-free version of this review, please check out my What I Read in October video. Otherwise, let's get into it and see what this promised. They say there's a door in Wakefield that never opens. Sam Wakefield's ancestral home, a decaying mansion built on the edge of a swamp, isn't a place for children. Its labyrinthine walls, built by her mad ancestors, are filled with echoes of the past, ghosts and memories knotted together as one. In the presence of phantoms, it's all Sam can do to disentangle the past from the present in her daily life. But when her pregnant sister Elizabeth moves in after a fight with her husband, something in the house shifts. Already navigating her tumultuous relationship with Elizabeth, Sam is even more unsettled by the appearance of a new ghost, a faceless boy who commits disturbing acts, threatening animals, terrorizing other children, and following Sam into the depths of the house wielding a knife. When it becomes clear the boy is connected to a locked, forgotten room, one which is never entered, Sam realizes this ghost is not like the others. This boy brings doom. As Elizabeth's due date approaches, Sam must unravel the mysteries of the Wakefield house before her sister brings new life into a house marked by death. But as the faceless boy grows stronger, Sam will learn that some doors should stay closed and some secrets are safer locked away forever. Sounds great, right? A haunted house, a faceless demon boy? Sign me up. I am here for it. While there is some of that in this book, it's just ultimately disappointing. Mostly because it is so boring. And the writing is very dense. So this book takes place near a swamp, but the writing is like a pit of quicksand. Sure, you can move your legs to think that you're getting out of it and making progress, but you're not. You're really not. You're just sinking deeper into it. The book did not have a great start. It is extremely flowery and supremely over-descriptive. I read the first page and then had to reread it all again because I had no idea what I had just read. There is some serious thesaurus abuse in the first few chapters that it really took me out of the story. I was not going to spend my time looking up all the words I didn't know, as I would be putting the book down every other minute. That, on top of that flowery prose, it really made this hard to get into. Now, it does improve and gets a lot less purpley, which is great, as the book is very unsettling and atmospheric. I enjoyed hearing about this house that replays memories and creates new rooms and really just shifts itself around the people that live there. It was very The Haunting of Hill House meets the Winchester house. The haunting aspect of the house echoing what's come before was neat, and it wasn't something I had read before. I did see a lot of reviews compare it to, and even the book blurb compares it to We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Haven't read that yet, so I'm gonna have to give that a read, since I did really like that aspect, and if that book did it a lot better, great, sign me up. Because I really did like that aspect of the house and just the people in it being able to play with time and reality. I thought that was a really neat touch. So this is your last spoiler warning. So our main character, Sam, is living at the house with her mother as Mom is starting to lose her grip on reality, even though she lives in this house that already kind of makes her lose her grip on reality. She's pretty much an alcoholic and a shut-in, and she hates being away from the house and the memories that she can relive, as she wasn't exactly the most present mom when Sam and her sister Elizabeth were growing up. So it's her way to relive their childhood and be there and see her kids growing up, even though the real them are already grown. So Sam obviously knows what the house does and is used to it, but then one day sees a new entity, the faceless demon boy, and pretty much immediately knows that it's her unborn nephew, Julian, as Elizabeth is due in a month. And now when I was reading this, I found this leap of logic kind of odd, as it's the first time we're introduced to the idea that the house can also show future events. Because again, he's not born yet. He hasn't done any of this stuff, but Sam is able to see it. So far, everything had just been echoes of what already occurred, which, again, like in a haunted house story, kind of makes sense. I didn't love that Sam makes this conclusion and then is right when it seems outside of the rules of the house that were, I guess, semi-established. I guess I shouldn't be too mad about it, but there's just no hints that it ever showed future events before. Like, I would have loved it if Sam had seen herself as, like, a teenager once and knew that, like, yes, the house can tap into these people and show them the future, but otherwise it was all just the past. Which, again, we'll have the spoiler warning. It does play a little bit into the end as, again, kind of referencing The Haunting of Hill House, Sam does realize that one of the entities in the house that scares her is actually her future self. Which, it worked, but again, like, I would have loved just a few more other hints of some of these ghosts being future entities instead of it's all the past, and then, now it's all of a sudden the future, and haha, this one was also the future too. It didn't really work for me. And I guess it also kind of bugged me that she can figure out that this faceless demon boy is her future nephew, but then doesn't figure out one of the ghosts is her, even though it looks like her. And she also finds her deceased father's journal and is all, the handwriting is familiar, but I can't figure it out. And she can't put two and two together. We know it's your dad's journal. No need to stretch this out for chapters upon chapters. Like, she's so smart in some areas and able to figure things out, but then it's be logical about this. I also have to say, I struggled to connect with Sam. She's a very thin character and kind of just ambles her way through the story. She's into archaeology and is interested in her family's history, but we only see the same ghost echoes over and over again. It's the same scenes playing out. Like, I don't know, give me a new haunting to, like, experience in this book. So Sam is not really driving the plot, and the plot that we have is very, very thin. Though there is a lot going on here, and a lot to keep track of. We have several characters we follow over and over again in their echoes. So we have the future nephew terrorizing the echoes and terrorizing Sam, because he's able to interact with these echoes too, which I don't think is ever actually explained. Like, he's able to change and manipulate what has happened in the past, but it doesn't have an impact on the future. I mean, I get there's a lot going on with this book. We also have a witch who lives in the nearby swamp. We have some sort of, like, zombie swamp woman. And then Sam and her mom are very sensitive to all the things that are happening in the house. But at the end of the day, all these little different plot threads just don't really connect well. What does the witch have to do with the house? I don't know. How is Julian able to bend space and time and interact with the echoes when it's been established that they're just memories, like a hologram? We never find out. The elements are very cool, and I really liked them, but they're not connected, nor are they fleshed out. We spend so much time on the echoes, and even the swamp witch, but there's no resolution to those elements. I mean, I guess besides I guess there's a resolution with the witch, but it's also kind of dumb because it's basically the day Julian is born, all this stuff is going down, and Sam has to run away with new baby Julian. She's running outside in the snow. He's a newborn, he has no clothes on, and he ends up dying. And the swamp witch, pops her little head out of the swamp and offers to bring him back to life. So she does. And I guess that somehow turns him into the future demon, I think. I don't know. Because again, nothing is explained. The whole idea of the story is that Julian is able to manipulate reality and can interact with the past and present. He is evil. Sam knows he's evil. She knows he's going to be a bad person. She wants to change this. So, the day he's born is when, again, everything just hits the fan. So Julian's mom, Elizabeth, Sam's sister, came home, we find out, because her husband Don hit her. It's not cool, and it's a very valid reason for her to move back home. But again, those breadcrumbs weren't set up for it, and the resolution for it wasn't great either. Because anytime we had seen Don, he was a good guy. And then he just becomes the bad guy and becomes more cartoonishly evil as he chases Sam around the house after Julian is born. And she's trying to keep Don away from his son. And he goes from this normal guy to a murderous man quite quickly. Now, I know that abusers can hide behind personas and not show who they really are. But in this particular story, it just didn't feel like that's what was happening. It didn't feel like he was projecting this person to hide behind so he could fool everybody, while in the background he really is abusive towards Elizabeth. So it just kind of reads like normal guy, starts smacking Elizabeth around, and then is now full-on Jack Torrancing Sam as he runs around the house chasing her with a crowbar. I don't know if it was like the house had an impact on him, or if, he's also evil and that's why Julian turns out the way he does. Because again, there's no answers to anything. So Sam realizes that Dawn can't have him, as she thinks Dawn's influence is probably what turns Julian into the monster she's seen him become in his little future echoes. So she runs into the swamp, and Dawn chases her, but oh no, he falls and drowns under the ice. Boo-hoo. Because this is, again, happening in winter. But since she's been running around in the elements, and Julian is 20 minutes old, like I said, he succumbs to the elements and dies. The swamp witch and zombie woman come and offer to help, and Julian is taken into the water. Then he comes back out, and he is alive, but he's now on this path of evil because of Sam, not because of Dawn. I know it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's not done well. So the book does end with an epilogue where Sam shares that Elizabeth fucking died after giving birth to Julian. Her mom now lives in a senior living facility, and Julian is a nightmare of a person who hurts her and turns her into the creepy entity that Sam had seen her entire life, and now realizes that she was seeing her future self. A self that has her lips and eyes sewn shut and just laughs to herself. And that's the end. So this ending is wild, but depressing as hell. I have to admit, I was also skimming quite a bit at the end of this. I was just ready for this book to be over with. The pacing in this goes from about a 2 throughout the majority of the book to the last 30 pages are probably cranked up to 11. It's a very wild ride. I think the biggest issues with this book comes down to the pacing. It's plotting and rambly for the majority of it. The story doesn't really seem to be going anywhere for a long time. The scary elements, while they're good, they don't line up or get a resolution. The writing is excessively overwritten, and it just ends up being repetitive, and again, it's so boring. Why is it so? What's a haunted house story about a faceless demon boy? This should not be as boring as it is. But my God. It had a lot of potential, and I just don't think it did much with it. I really hate to rate this so low, as again, I really did like When the Night Bells Ring, but this was not great. I had really high hopes, but as I continued to read this, I really dreaded picking it up. I was not interested in reading it. I kind of just read it because I wanted to get through it and get it done with. I wanted to give this 3 stars because, again, I think the idea of it and some of the creepy scenes are really well done. I will applaud that. But I can't. This ended up, had to be in the 2-star range. I'll be really nice and give it 2.5. But it's just so disappointing that a book or an author I had previously enjoyed ended up turning out such a dud. And again, all the elements are there. I just don't know what happened. So, if you have any recommendations for good haunted house stories that I can start collecting now for next October, please leave your recommendations in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you for joining me at Wine Club.